With infinite complacence, people went to and fro over the earth about their little affairs, serene in the assurance of their dominion over this small, spinning fragment of solar driftwood, which by chance or design man has inherited out of the dark mystery of time and space.
On this episode of Into the Fray, I welcome Daniella on with me, and she is up north in Canada, and she emailed and she says, I have had experiences since 2012, and she admits that she has quite the gamut, really, of experiences, and she and I were just chatting before we officially started that even just in her bullet point list, there's already things jumping out at me that I'm very interested to hear because they parallel some things I've even just heard recently. So I'm looking forward to hearing the details on those. Daniella, welcome on the show.
Hi, Shannon. Thanks for inviting me. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thanks for being willing to do this. I know it's not the easiest thing to do. So in your email, as I already mentioned, you said that your experiences started in 2012. Now, is that what you meant by those with Bigfoot, or just all of the paranormal experiences you've ever had started in 2012?
I had a Kundalini awakening back in 2012. Now, no, Sasquatch has been the past 3 years, but from 2012, it was like really paranormal things, synchronicities, telepathy, crazy things happening from 2012. Loads of crazy paranormal, oh, crazy, I say paranormal, but it was also very physical. Stuff was happening. Bigfoot, Sasquatch has just been in the past 3 years. And prior to 2012, I did have psychic abilities, but I really didn't realize that I had psychic abilities, if that makes sense. I'd brush things off and just say, oh, that was weird, or it didn't really sink in with me. But then 2012, I went kicking and screaming into the paranormal crazy stuff, and there was no denying it. At that point, I wasn't allowed to.
So what happened in 2012 that really seemed to be the catalyst for things to be so attracted to you, or for you to have all these different experiences?
Well, first of all, I was going through an extremely bad time in my life. Back then, I was actually drinking heavily and partaking in other things, and I was having just didn't care about about myself, or I didn't care at that point. And I suddenly I sort of started being told to stop drinking, stop doing this stuff, stop it. And it wasn't coming from me, it was coming from somewhere else. And I started getting messages through on how to stop, how to improve my health, how to start to be healthy again in my life. But these messages were not coming from me. They were coming into my head, but they were not coming from that. They weren't coming from me. They were coming from somewhere else. And then I was also having paranormal experiences. I was oh, we're going really woo woo now, which is even worse than Sasquatch. I was seeing fairies. I was seeing ETs. I was having contact with ETs. I was having contact with guides and angels. I was starting to hear messages from people that have passed over, and I was also getting a lot of sort of negative physical stuff happening to me, which literally scared the living daylights out of me for probably about a year. until I started to realize that I could control, if I controlled my thoughts more. Oh, well, I was also having slider experiences. So the lights were going on and off. I was blowing up electrics in the house, the electrics in my car. Didn't matter how many times they were fixed, they would break again. I would think of something and then it would come out in a song on the radio when I switched the radio on. I would think of something and then the next conversation I heard in the middle of town with people I've never met before walking past me would be giving me the answer to the question that I'd asked in my head or talking about the same thing. And then things would start popping up on my phone. Watch this and watch this. And I gradually started to realize that I was having this Kundalini awakening. And that was really hard. That was a really hard few years that I went through. And you don't know because I haven't told you. Yeah, I do actually have a YouTube channel because back around 2000, I started, no, 2000, yeah, 2013, I actually started putting little blogs out on YouTube because I needed help myself and I wanted to know if I knew everyone else or anybody else out in the world was going through the same things as me. So I'd put little blogs out about what had happened to me and and I started to slowly learn that this was not just me, that there were other people in the world going through it. And as I went along, I learned how to help other people and I learned how to become a tarot card reader, angel card reader, psychic medium, and just started to help other people how I could as well, because I didn't want anybody else to go through what I had gone through because it was horrendous at the time. Luckily nowadays, I think it's a lot easier for people to go through an awakening. But back then, there wasn't a lot of people, there wasn't too many people going through it. So that's that.
Did you want
I didn't think
to?
we were going there, but we went there.
Yeah, and I don't want to cover anything that you're not comfortable with, of course, because mostly what you emailed me about was the Sasquatch stuff. So thanks for even bringing that up. But, I think even if it's just a bullet point list, that way people know, oh, here's someone like me that has had this gamut list of different types of
Yeah,
experiences, right? So did you want to, and it's up to you, of course,
yeah.
did you want to mention the name of your YouTube channel?
It's Husky Light 2.0. I have had a break from there for about 4 years, and I just started to go back on slowly, try and get back in the habit of doing it. I have a partner over here in Canada who's been pretty unwell with cancer for the past 2 years. So it's just been, so there was definitely a reason why I sort of came off. I came off just before it all started happening. I was sort of guided to like, no, you need to come off now. So yeah, I will
And
just starting to get back into the swing of it things.
so what was the name again?
It's Husky Light 2.0.
Like as in the dog Husky?
Husky as in, yes, Husky, and then Light, Light.
2.0. Okay, excellent. I will make sure
Yeah,
to link that for everybody so they can check that out. And, that's some good work that you're doing.
thank you.
Just because I know that really at the onset of things, and I'm no different, it does come from a more selfish place, right? Because you don't want to be the only one that's gone through something like this. And then very quickly you find out
Yeah.
you're not. And then it turns into, oh, well, I want to help more
Hmm.
people feel this relief of knowing they're not the only one. So the tables do turn, but I completely understand that
Yeah.
sentiment. So
And it,
go ahead.
yeah. And obviously with my channel, I always try and be as positive as possible and put good messages out for people. So the the fact that I'm talking to you about things that I don't usually include in that channel is quite weird. So the Sasquatch stuff and that sort of actually is leading away from the angel card readings and the energy readings that I do on a normal basis. So they're like the other side of some of the things that I go through. which I haven't so far actually felt all that comfortable sort of doing on my own channel as well, because it's just a little bit removed from what I normally do.
Well, and it's very dark, right? You did mention that for a period of a year there was some physical stuff going on, which is horrifying. I can kind of
Yeah,
imagine what might
yeah.
have been going on there because as you know, I've talked to people that have had experiences like that, and you went through the list of Fae and ET and angels, and when you're dealing with
Oh God, yeah.
ETs and just take ETs and Fae, right? What very little we know, which
Yeah.
is nothing about them, is that any
Hmm.
of those things can be tricksters and can seem like something else if they want to, right? So that in and of itself is just so
Yeah.
dark. But I hope that all of that. And again, I'm not going to pry anymore. You've shared enough, even just to say yes, these other things have happened to me. Thank you for doing that. But I do hope that those types of things have stopped for you. That's a dark
Yes.
situation that I
Yes.
don't wish on
Uh,
anybody, and I'm sure you don't either.
Absolutely. I think that I was surrounded by some dark people as well back then that I didn't realize. And I was in a dark place. And I think whatever you think about or however your vibration is, then it's going to get reflected back at you. So no, I'm not in that place. Now it's all very positive. Even my Sasquatch encounters are very positive. And yeah, whole different. It doesn't even seem like it was me back then. It was a whole different world.
Yeah. Well, good. That makes me happy to hear that. I'm very happy for you because I hear a lot of dark stuff, and I'm a person that doesn't sleep well as it is,
Yeah.
and I don't have paranormal things in my
Oh,
home. I don't have to wake up and see shadow people or what looks like a little gray alien in my room or float me through frickin' walls or any of this other
yeah.
stuff, and so I can't even imagine having even a touch of any of that, especially in your own home.
Yeah.
So all right, Daniela, well, first of all,
Yeah.
before we move on, thanks for sharing all of that. So let's move on to your Sasquatch experiences. And I have the list that you sent me right in front of my eyeballs here. So we'll start out with bullet point number 1. And this is right out of the gate
Okay.
extremely interesting to me, and I can't wait to hear about this. Getting locked in and seeing Sasquatch for the first time is bullet point number 1.
Okay. So this was 2022. I had me and my partner had a small group of sort of spiritual friends, and we'd all get together and do drummings around the campfire and things like that, big spiritual stuff. And one of them had a friend who happened to be an English guy who lives maybe about an hour and a half away from where I live now. And he said, "Hey, we're all getting together. We're going for a drumming over there. Do you want to come?" Yeah, perfect. Anyway, I get to this place and find out that this English guy, I don't know what to call him, Jack, let's call him Jack. He's been out here for about 30, 40 years, and he has about 300 acres of land, which includes woodland. And he decided to actually build hobbit houses, yeah, but not the kind of yurt that you can buy from a company and you set them up and they're like prefabricated. He was building yurts from scratch with mud, with wooden beams, with tree trunks, with they were absolutely amazing. And he built about five dotted across the fields part of the land, these hobbit houses, and they were absolutely amazing. So what we were planning to do is we were all going over there, having a drumming session, just getting together, having fun, and then going and staying. We all had a little designated hobbit house to go in and stay for the night, which was just so much fun because these things are amazing. They're so and it's totally off grid as well. So he uses car batteries for and solar panels for lighting. So you can get some lighting, you can charge your phone, but that's about it. No internet out there. Everything's just off grid. So we'd had an amazing afternoon, and Jack said, hey, do you want to go walk through the woods? I'll show you around, sort of thing. He said I think it was only about 2 or 3 kilometer walk. And he said it just loops around. We'll all go for a walk. So we all start walking, and we're walking through these woods. Now, I had already heard during the afternoon, he had joked and said that he'd got Sasquatch. Well, I thought he was joking. He wasn't joking. He said he'd got Sasquatch. He knew they were there. He'd never personally seen them, but he could see them out the corner of his eye. So I was like, well, that's exciting. So we go and have a walk around these woods. We do come to a certain place in the woods where you've heard about these enormous sort of big boughs of trees or branches that are bowed over in like a tunnel shape.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Where they've got one branch and they've just curved it right over, and then they sort of stuck it in the ground on the other side, so you have
Yeah.
to walk through it. There was like 3 of those in a row, and I'm walking through them going, what is this? And he said, oh, I think Sasquatch did it. And I'm looking at them going, well, this is nuts, because it must have taken incredible strength for something to curve these branches round, then just either wedge them into a tree opposite or shove them into the ground or whatever. And we walk through them and we carry on walking. And I can't remember, this was 2022, what we were talking about, but we're all chatting away. I looked behind me, and it was quite far away. It was probably about a football field length away from me. There is a Sasquatch standing in front of a tree, watching us, behind us, watching us walk away. And I looked around it and I saw it. Nobody else saw it, just me. I said to Jack, I said, there is a Sasquatch behind you. And I wasn't, in all of these experiences are quite strange. I didn't get scared. I wasn't. It was almost like my brain was telling me, yeah, you didn't really see that. You just ignore it and carry on, because you didn't really see that. And I wondered about it all the way back. I couldn't see its details. I just know there was a Sasquatch standing next to a tree. I could see obviously how big it was, how dark it was. It almost looked like a shadow because of the length it was. And this is late in the afternoon as well. The sun hadn't gone down, but it was late afternoon. It was summer. So, and once you get into those woods are dark. There's so many trees, and the trees are so together, not much space apart. There's like a canopy of leaves that almost blocks out the sun in places. So I carried on walking, and we got back and we were going to have dinner together around the campfire, and we were all going to just go back off to our hobbit houses and just have a little, hours break. So I go off to my little hobbit house. I'm on my own. I'm the only one staying in there. My hobbit house is further away from everybody else's as well. Mine's like the last of the hobbit houses that are like out on this really large field. And it's an hour later, I come to leave the hobbit house, and I'm completely locked in. I didn't hear the lock go. I didn't hear anything. I just went to open the door, and I'm completely locked in. Now, this door to the Hobbit house is literally, if you picture Lord of the Rings and the little Hobbit houses they had, then that's what this Hobbit house looks like. So it's got a beautiful curved, thick door, wooden door, and you can bolt it from the inside, but there's also a bolt on the outside of the door. So a thick iron bolt, which you cannot, it doesn't accidentally lock on you. You have to physically take that lock and slide it into the hole on the other side in order to lock it. Nobody else had done it. Nobody had locked me in. I ended up having to call Jack I say, can you come and get me out, please? And he comes trudging across the field, lets me out, and he said it's happened once before with somebody else that was staying there, I think the previous year. So that was my first inkling or my first experience that not all is that as it seems at this place.
So this yurt, it's the furthest away from everyone, which probably means it's closest to the wood line.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, yeah, my yurt was right at the pretty much right at the wood line. If you go out the back of the yurt, you're pretty much in the woods then. So mine was the furthest out.
I wonder the other
So
person that got locked in prior, if they had also. I just wonder if it's the yurt or is it the fact that you are the one that saw the Sasquatch? Like, I wonder if the other person that got locked in on a previous visit also happened to see a Sasquatch, or if the yurt is the only reason for you to be locked in because you're closest to the wood line. It kind of was like a little haha trickster thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Closest to the wood line, and I have found out since through information that has come through the area, or what I've come to realize and sort of had a bit of mind speak about is that area where that particular hobbit house is a portal of some sort,
Mm.
or it's around a portal. So, but I didn't know any of that back then. I just knew I'd been locked in, and there was that, oh my God, I've been locked in, and there was that momentary fear of, oh my God, what if I can't get through? What if nobody picks up the phone when I call him? I'm stuck. Nobody can hear me because everybody's far out. But yeah, that was the first testing experience. But yeah, with you near the wood line, it is very near uh, the wood line. So
And Jack doesn't seem like he's very surprised about any of these things so far that are going on.
no, no. Jack is the. If you ever met him, he is. He actually looks like he should be in Lord of the Rings. He should. He he's a very short English guy. He is in his 70s, and he's in his let me repeat that. He's in his 70s building hobbit houses. This guy has got more energy than five of us put together. And it's almost like he looks like a little hobbit himself in a nice way, because he's a lovely guy. It's almost like the land is giving him energy because it's a lot of 70-year-olds that I do know are not anywhere near as energetic as he is. He just goes and goes. He's like an energizer bunny.
Well, I mean, to build yurts
And
out of
yeah.
mud and wood and you're talking about homemade mortar and all that stuff.
Hmm.
That's pretty bad of the bone for him to be doing all this stuff. And it's all off grid.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool. I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And he lives there all the time off grid. So
Well,
it's like the land almost it's just that's crazy in itself. It's like the land gives him energy.
well,
This guy goes off for months at a time and hikes around Canada for months on end. It's just crazy.
well, where you're going to go if SHTF, as they say, right? You got Jack over there. You're like, I'm coming because things are going
Yeah.
down out here. Well, next up,
Well,
go ahead.
yeah, and that's actually one of the reasons. That's actually one of the reasons in his mind that he did this, what he's done, because he just wants to, if anything ever happened,
Oh yeah,
he wants to help people.
right. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
thankfully, there's a lot of people like that. They're willing to share spaces like that, and it's their whole reason for doing it is to get away from the craziness in big cities. So that's smart. Well, let's talk next
yeah,
about the light
yeah,
orbs. Is second up.
yeah. So we are looking at the beginning, somewhere around the beginning, because I haven't got this date, around 2023. So beginning of last year, my partner had just been diagnosed with cancer. And we were doing hospital trips and doctor's appointments and scans and this, that, and the other. And we were just starting to get into everything. I'm his sole carer. Things were getting a little bit overwhelming. Before he started treatment, before he started treatment, we'd managed to get things a little bit under control. And I said, just give me one night. I need to go be in nature. I mean, I live in nature. We live in a cabin in the woods, but for some reason, I wanted to go to the Hobbit house. I wanted to sit down. I wanted to meditate. I wanted to be off grid. I just wanted to sort of get myself together because I knew what the months and the next long time would bring. And I needed to be strong enough to help get him through. So I go off to the Hobbit house for one night. I arrived there. I'm not in the same Hobbit house this time as I was in 2022. So this time I'm in a Hobbit house, which is very near to Jack's house where he lives off grid because there was still snow around. There's quite a lot of snow in this area over winter, and it was just too much hard going getting to the other Hobbit house. And he said, go stay in the one nearest from the car, basically. So that's what I did. This little particular Hobbit house, when you look out of the window, and it's got the cutest window, it's not square. It's shaped like an eye. It's shaped like an almond eye. Anyway, it was afternoon. It's dreary. It's still winterish. It's probably early spring, but it's not nice weather. It's still light outside. I get myself settled into the Hobbit house. I'm planning on meditating and drawing angel cards and just being with myself for a bit. Anyway, I look out of the window and I can see across the field to the line of trees which starts the woodland, so the wood line. And it's quite a ways from me, but I can see the wood line. In the wood line, I can see what looks like a pair of car headlights. And I stare at it. I stare at them for a few times, and I'm like, I could not figure out what they were. Somehow I managed to figure out that's just car headlights. Somehow on the line of the woods, just inside, that's car headlights. They were about from my vantage point, looking quite a ways. They looked about 3, 4 feet off the ground, spaced out the same as maybe car headlights would be, about the same size. White was the color of them, and I just went whatever. I was too consumed with the situation with my partner, with everything else that was going on. I was a bit of a wreck actually, and so I went okay, whatever. Went and did my meditation, pulled some cards, just enjoyed the silence, the fact of being off grid, and just the quietness that was surrounding me. Anyway, I think probably about it had gone dark. I got the little wood stove going, meditated some more, went to bed around probably about 9 o'clock, and then I fell asleep. I think it was about 11 o'clock. I literally just sat bolt upright in the bed. There was a voice in my head that just went, go to the window now. I'm like, what? I didn't question it. I didn't, I was from a dead sleep to really, really awake really quickly. Go to the window now. So I climbed down the steps from this bed because again, we're in a hobbit house and it's like an elevated bed. And I go straight to that oval-shaped window, look out across the field. Those two lights that I'd seen in the afternoon in the daytime were still there, but now it's dark. And as I looked out the window and I stared at them, they suddenly shot up together at an extreme rate of speed, jumped up, sped up into the air, straight up above the tree line, and then quickly, just as quickly, sort of came down at a 45-degree, 40-degree angle to the right of where they'd gone up, straight back into the woods. I imagine they hit the ground or something, and all the woods just lit up like there was a big bright light in there, just for a second, and then everything just went black again. And I just stood there. The whole experience must have just lasted like a second or two once I stared back out of the window. But I've never seen anything that incredible. I have seen an orb in the past. That's a different story. But this was, it was so fast and it was so deliberate. Something told me to go to the window and deliberately look out of the window so that I could see these orbs or lights or do what they did. It, yeah, it was that was crazy. That was crazy.
I mean, do you have any theories on why why did it want you to see that little show?
I why why have I seen Sasquatch 3 times now?
Right.
I I deliver I I I don't know, but it's almost like I deliberately I needed to see that, or maybe the psychic part of me. Maybe it was the psychic part of me that woke me up and went, "Hey, go look out the window," because I'm slightly precognitive as well. But I don't think that's what it was. I just think I was meant to see it, but I have no. I maybe I was meant to see that in order to start putting the pieces together, to start connecting maybe light orbs or lights with Sasquatch, connecting, yeah, connecting them together, or to see that they're not just a physical being, that there's something else going on there at the same time. And maybe there is an ET connection, maybe there is, but because I don't think Sasquatch are completely physical after what I've gone through. Your guess is as good as mine on that one.
Well, and so this next time you do see a Sasquatch, thankfully you're not alone. You mentioned that there was a friend there or someone that you knew that was able to see one as well.
Yes. So actually going just before Lisa, because I forgot to write it in the bullet points, but my daughter came over from England, and I think she was here in February, March. She could only get so much time off work. She got 8 days off work, bless her. Comes flying over to Canada, and I'm trying to rush around meeting everybody and doing everything else. And I took her over to the Hobbit house just for like 2 hours or something. Said, "You've got to see this place. This place is awesome." I told her about the lights and everything. And I also took another friend of mine, Lindsay, down with me. And I did not see anything, and none of us did that day. But as I was showing my daughter the Hobbit houses, we could hear, like, I wouldn't call them tree knocks. It was almost like slapping something on a tree. hard, like the palm of the hand or something. It didn't, the tree knock things doesn't quite make sense to me. That it sounded more like it was something slightly softer banging against a tree. And by this time as well, I had started researching or trying to learn about Sasquatch. So I'd started to learn they do tree knocks and they do this and they do that. And okay. So my daughter starts walking across the field towards these knocks. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, well, I'm just gonna go find out. And I was like, no, no, you come back here. You're not walking into the woods. You're not walking towards that noise.
Yeah,
Are you
yeah.
crazy? Yeah. But she's 19, so she's like, I'll go look. I was like, no, I think that means you're supposed to stay away. I think they're making a noise to let us know that something's over there, so don't do it. So anyway, that was that. And then Lisa came over, and she came over in September of last year. And now I've lost my space in the diary, but she came over September of last year. And again, we didn't stay out there. We didn't sleep over or anything like that. I just wanted to show the Hobbit as it's really cool. So we go across there. She meets Jack, and in there is at least two that I know of within the fields that in his land. These extremely big, like boulders, stone boulders, sort of sat in the middle of the field, and it almost looks, mm, it almost looks like a sacrificial stone, but not in a bad way. It just looks like Stonehenge or something, where there's this massive boulder, and it's got slightly smaller, two or three slightly smaller boulders under it. Um, so I said, and Lisa is very spiritual as well. Jack is quite spiritual, and we're like, hey, let's walk out into the middle of this field. Let's all put our hands on this stone and just see if we can feel anything running through it, see if we can feel any energy. So we all go and do this. We all place our hands on it. We all close our eyes. And as I closed my eyes, all I could see was like an aqua and teal colors sort of swirling in my mind's eye, in my third eye, whatever. Beautiful colors. And I opened my eyes. And again, we're in the middle of the field. The tree line sort of curves around us. We're probably talking half a football field away at this point. I don't know how many feet that is. I'm not very good with distance. I can do it in football field or a decent size kids' playground away. The Sasquatch is stood side onto us next to a tree, and he he hasn't got his arms hanging by him. So his right shoulder is towards us. So he's slightly side on. His arms are not hanging down. He's got them bent at the elbows, and he's sort of got his forearms in front of him up to his chest, just in front of his chest, under his face. And as I looked at him, he sort of took a step forward and sort of ducked down. But it was the most pathetic. If he was trying to hide, it was the most pathetic hiding I've ever seen. Because when he ducked down, he literally ducked down like a few inches. That was it. And I looked at Lisa and I didn't say what I was seeing, but I said to her, can you see what I see? And she said, yes, there's a Sasquatch there. He's just taken a step forward and ducked down. And I went, oh, okay. You just seen exactly what I just saw. We looked again. He'd gone. He hadn't, we didn't hear him walk anywhere. We didn't, it was, he was there and then he was gone. He didn't slowly disappear. He was just gone. And the strangest, one of the strangest things I find with all of these encounters, but especially this one, we literally just walked away from there going, la 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 la. We just saw Sasquatch. How cool was that? But there was this complete calm over us. There was no fear. It was just like, wow, we just saw Sasquatch. And within 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes of, of walking away, we didn't mention it again. It was like, that was completely normal. Completely. It was, that was nuts. And I could see he looked like, I want to say he looked like a silverback gorilla. He was freaking huge, huge. He was black, extremely black, and I could, and he had silver on his shoulders, silver white fur on the top of his head, on his shoulders, on his back, from what I could see from the side of his back, sort of down his shoulder blade, was like a whitish silver color. His head was slightly conical, but not a lot. I have no idea how to describe his face because it was too far away and I couldn't really see it. But again, it was just all it was like deliberate. Him ducking down like that didn't do anything for him to hide. He was between two trees. It wasn't going to. He wasn't trying to hide behind the tree. It was just like a, oh shit, they saw us. Sorry. That's how it seemed.
You do feel like this was a different Sasquatch than the first one that you saw.
I do not know. I honestly can't tell you on that one. The first time I saw it, I think it was, but the first time I saw it, it was in shadow. It was far away, and I just knew it was this massive, big, dark shadow thing, excuse me, which wasn't a shadow. It was a Sasquatch, but I couldn't make out any details on it at that point. And with that one as well, I literally looked behind me, saw it, looked forward, kept walking, thinking, did I really just see what I thought I saw? Um, this time with Lisa and having a witness with me. So it wasn't me going crazy. Yeah, two of us saw it. Now, the other thing was, though, with that, Jack didn't see anything. Jack didn't see it. Me and Lisa saw it. Jack didn't. And he's lived on that land for years and he never sees them head on, or he's never told me he has.
Because what
So,
Jack told you kind of in the beginning was, well, I know that they're here because I see them out of the, it's more like an out of the corner of his eye kind of a thing. But so it essentially
yeah.
goes back to some of the thinking that I've had is that, and that other people have postulated on the show, is it's almost, especially if we're talking about Sasquatch not being flesh and blood, and it's more of this higher consciousness thing or being attracted to certain auras or people, whatever it might be, that they just don't let,
Mm.
I mean, for lack of a better term, they just don't let Jack see them as head on or well as you do or others like you, right? I mean, is that the thinking here?
Yeah, I think, yeah, it's a good thinking. I don't know if because that's his land and he's lived there for so long, if there's something inside him that is maybe stopping him from seeing them, or they are stopping him from seeing them because they don't want to scare him,
Right.
or because he looks after he as long as he lives there, in my humble opinion, as long as he lives there, that land is protected. That land is he's looking after, he's the guardian of that land. And while he's there and they're there, they're sort of protected too.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's the maybe they don't want to scare him, or he would feel uncomfortable there if he did see that. I don't know, but he knows they're there.
Yeah, that makes sense
But
to me.
for
I mean, he has to
for
be
us, I
there
mean,
all the
obviously, I don't live
yeah.
there. Yeah,
Yeah, he has to be there all the time. So I could imagine, especially
yeah,
if you get these stories of Sasquatch coming in and they're 10 feet tall and they're peeking in through a window and have to like squat down, because they're so tall. I mean, I don't think anybody would be super
yeah,
comfortable. I don't care how attached to the land you are or how one with the land that you are. That might get a little iffy at some point. So I do
yeah,
understand that point. Okay, so next up is you get locked
absolutely.
in. You get locked in yet again.
Twice, twice, and I had the dogs with me. So not a lot going on here apart from I get locked in again, and I'll have to try and send you the pictures because I have a picture of the lock that's on the front of the Hobbit house, and it is literally it's a bolt, and you have to push on that. If I'm coming out of the Hobbit house to lock it from the outside because I'm leaving, I have to physically push on the Hobbit house door quite hard in order to line it up with the hole to get the bolt through to actually lock it. So again, this is not, it just doesn't, a lock doesn't automatically do that on its own. It doesn't move like that. It's impossible. So I was there again. I've got the dogs with me. I've got a little sort of terrier, Jack Russell Terrier, and this time I've got an enormous puppy, Saint Bernard puppy. And I've gone over for the day, and I got some stuff in the car, I think. I've been shopping because I was going to stay over the night there. So I got some food in, I put the dogs in, I go out to the car, get stuff, go back, go to get some more stuff out of the car. Suddenly it's locked again. And I'd been out like a minute earlier. There's nothing around. So I call Jack. Jack, can you come and lock the door, please? It takes him 10 minutes from where he is to walk up to me to let me out. He undoes it, lets me out, it's off. Not more than 5 minutes later, it's locked again. So I call him again. Can you come? I am by this time, I'm like, oh my God, why? Why are you doing this to me? Are you nuts? I was just, I'm sorry, Jack, can you come and let me out again? And he came and let me out and he looked at me and I said, this is ridiculous. I said, why? Why are they doing this? And he turned around and he said, it's not them, it's the kids. And I went, excuse me? He said, I think it's the juvenile Sasquatch that are doing it. They're playing tricks. They think it's funny. He said, I don't think the parents find it funny, but they think it's funny. And I'm like, okay. And then when I mentioned a portal earlier on, and that particular Hobbit house sort of being some sort of portal or around there, that's when he told me, he said, I think you're on a portal. I think this is a portal. Because he is spiritual. So he knows all of this. But I think this is probably mind speak or downloads that he's got over the years from them or months or whatever. And he just went, yeah, it's the kids that are doing it. And I was like, oh, okay, great, great. So we actually got a very thick iron nail bent and we shoved it through the bolt on the outside, which makes it so you have to remove that nail, sort of those massive big masonry ones. You have to remove that in order to lock it.
Mm-hmm.
So in the hopes that I wouldn't get locked in again. But so even though he's not seen them, he knows some stuff. He knows little bits and pieces that I think he's been told or picked up psychically or whatever over time. Yeah,
So Danielle, you mentioned
but
that
that was
at certain
and the
points, what was that?
sorry, I was just going to say, and for God's sake, the dogs were with me as well. It was like it makes no difference, and the dogs didn't bark, and the dogs didn't pick up on anything either. So,
Yeah, I mean, because you mentioned that there's been snow on the ground at this property at some points of the year when you're visiting. So, has there ever been any
mhm.
tracks in the snow?
I no, I haven't seen any tracks in the snow. I have seen what I think is a footprint, but it's like and I took a photo of it, I think the last time I was there, but it's like an old footprint. It's not a fresh one. It's like it's been in the mud or in the dirt for quite a while, but it's sort of set like that. It's just sort of set and stayed. But I have a picture of that, but I haven't been out. No, I've only been out there once when there was snow, and I just went straight to the first Hobbit house near where you park your car and everything. I didn't sort of traipse anywhere else.
All right. Well, next up,
But I do have a picture of the other footprint.
yeah, it's just so interesting that, I mean, if they're not a flesh and blood all the time and they can pop in and out, however you want to term that, then I suppose they wouldn't leave any tracks behind. So, all right. So, next up, we have got
No.
Mind Speak, right?
All right. So Lisa's been over. Charlie's been over. Yeah. So we get into fall of last year, and I'm at my place blowing leaves. My partner's not well. That's usually his. He does all the outside work usually, but he's not well enough. I've taken over cutting grass and blowing leaves and doing snow when it comes and all the rest of it. So I am outside blowing leaves, and I suddenly got this it's not I can't even explain what the it's just like a voice and a knowing all at the same time, and it's sort of my voice but it's not my voice. I can't even explain that bit, but I got like this message, this as I'm busily sort of blowing leaves in my front yard. I got there's a gift for you at the Hobbit house, and it was extremely clear. It was extremely, yeah, it was clear, articulate. It was, there is a gift at the Hobbit house for you. I was like, oh, okay. So I just thought, okay, well maybe, and I knew it was from them as well. There was an automatic knowing that this message was direct from Sasquatch. So I was like, okay, cool. Maybe they've left me a bone or a rock, because the other times that I've been there, that there was a bone outside the Hobbit house at one point. It's still there, and it looks like I don't know. I'm not very anatomically correct in skeleton. It sort of looks like a cow bone, maybe a femur bone or something like that. Very bleached and old and everything. So I just sort of thought, okay, they've left me that, and I've got one of those massive big stones outside the Hobbit house that I stay in, and I have left crystals on there. So I thought, well, maybe they've left me a rock or a bone or a something very cool. I'll see you next time I'm down. Anyway, I popped over there within a matter of 2 or 3 weeks after I'd got that message again. I just popped over for the day, just because the guy is in his 70s. He lives on his own, and we're friends. And I'll just go check he's okay. I'll just check getting ready for winter and everything else. So I popped over and Jack came out to greet me and he said, "You won't believe what we found." And I said, "What do you mean what we found?" And he says, "You've got a water spring right next to the Hobbit house." I said, "You've got to be kidding me." He said no. And the exact day that I got the message, like I've got a gift at the Hobbit house, he'd been on his land. The farmer next door to him, now there is a farm next door to him, and he allows his cows to sort of wander through Jack's land. So if you're at the Hobbit house every morning, you've got cows licking the windows and cows coming through, and it's really awesome. And he said, so on that day, the farmer next door had come next to see him and said, "I've got a hoe. I've only got it for one day. Do you fancy, do you need it for anything? Should we go see if we can find water somewhere?" And he had some dowsing rods and he went dowsing and he went, "Yeah, start digging there." And there's this beautiful underground freshwater spring underneath, right next to the Hobbit house. So he builds a little wood hut over the top of it, covers it to protect it and everything. And there it is. And there's this fresh water there. And that he did that on the same day that I got the message through. And he said the way it happened was it was just also to be doing that on the same day the message, and the fact that we've got fresh water there, it doesn't seem like, do you know what I mean? It's like the weirdest gift, but like the best gift ever because you've got fresh water suddenly on that land.
I mean, the timing of that is a little amazing, that's for sure, right? I mean, especially the guy's like, hey, I have this
Uh-huh.
equipment for one day, and what do you want to do with it? And that's what
Uh-huh.
happened. So that's pretty dang cool.
Yeah. Uh-huh. That's yeah, that's amazing. And if you would imagine a gift from I suppose that would be it. It would be a bone or a rock or maybe a underground spring with fresh water in it, or just right next to the Hobbit house that I stay in. Yeah, that was just amazing, amazing, amazing.
Well, yeah, because I
That
mean,
took me a little while to get over.
it's a Sasquatch. So really, how much can they do as far as if they want to
Yeah,
gift something
what's
to
he
a
gonna give
person,
you?
right? They have a limited number of things that they can do. So
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. All right, so next up,
yeah.
you
And there's
have you have information that was given to you about the lock-ins that you were experiencing, the juvenile Sasquatch, and the portal.
yeah. So, yeah, that's basically what I said before. The portal. Oh, so yes, it is as far as I've been told, it is a portal where the Hobbit house is. There is also, I also got a message through that basically, because they talked about Jack had talked about the juvenile or the kiddie Sasquatch, whatever you call them, being there. He did also mention to me as well that they do not like being called Sasquatch. They prefer to be called Whitebeard. So make of that what you will. But we're on this portal, and when I am there, I'm supposed to. Oh god, I'm gonna sound completely crazy now, as if I don't already. So I'll just say it. The message that was given to me or came through to me was, I'm supposed to watch the kids when I'm there. Don't know how that works. Don't just don't. But that was the message,
That's
along with
I actually love that. So
obviously it's on a portal and
you're the Sasquatch nanny.
yes.
I love it.
So me so So maybe if I allow them to be occupied with locking me in the bloody house, I don't know, mum and dad can go off doing whatever they do. I don't know.
You're the entertainment.
But that was the message. I'm the entertainment, which is yeah. So I haven't got anything sort of more on that thin. I tend to, I say I've got so much going on at home with my partner and everything, and I don't get there very often, but it's been enough. And in all on, I will probably slow down a little bit going over there because we're coming into winter and that. But after the last encounter that I did have when I saw it for a third time, I might not go over there quite as often, or make sure I've got lots of people with me.
Well, yeah, let's talk now about that point
Oh,
that
and
I brought up
yeah.
is Darlene and the metal sounds.
Oh gosh, yeah. Take Darlene out there. Got a group of there's maybe 4 or 5 of us that just stick together. We all have the same ideas and the same insights and stuff. And I'm like, okay. So I'm not taking anybody willy-nilly out there. And Jack will not allow anybody out there who isn't spiritual. So it's just okay. And I had a lot of support, especially last year with my partner. So we were always she's like, if you're going out there, I'll come with you. I said, okay, fine. And she knew all of what I told her about what had been happening. She said, fine, let's go. So we get out there. So there's the Hobbit house, and then just if you're at the front door of the Hobbit house, sort of walking out, just behind the Hobbit house to the left-hand side is an outhouse, and then right next to the outhouse is this massive woodshed with wood in, and then we've got the woods. We're on the wood line. So we get to the Hobbit house. We decide to go like into the woods from where the woodshed is, and I haven't really gone that way before. So I'm like, and she's like, hey, let's walk through here. Let's just go have a walk to see how we feel, see if we see anything. I'm like, okay. So we walk into the woods. There are sort of trails that have already been sort of pre-made by the cows that come through a couple of times a day from next door from the farmer. And we're sort of following those and we're going. And we do come to one area. It doesn't look a lot different from anywhere else in the woods, maybe just a little bit of a clearing. And we said, okay, this is a maybe a good place to just stop. And I'm like, yeah, fine, we'll stop here, we'll sit down, blah 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 blah. And as I finished speaking, we realized how quiet it was. And she's looking at me and I'm looking at her, and she's like, there's there's no crickets, there's there's no bird sound, there's nothing. There was nothing. It was just pure silence. And this is daylight. It's the probably about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm like, okay, why? So we both sat down. We both we were sat next to each other, but almost back to back sort of thing. I'm like, you look that way, I look that way. We're trying to be clever. Let's see what we can see. We got this. We're trying to be normal at the same time. And we just sat and listened, and there was nothing. And then from further off into the woods, there was this almighty metal sound. It sounded like, I don't know how to describe it, an enormous metal door opening, but at the same time it was opening. It was like scraping on other, like a metal floor. So it was making that horrendous metal scraping noise, and it was loud. It was really loud. And I mean, it lasted 2, 3 seconds, but there's nothing out there that can make this noise. There is nothing. It I'm trying to think of a better description of it, but there's nothing really coming to mind. Just just this horrendous metal on metal, or maybe metal on stone, but I think metal on metal, heavy metallic scraping sound. And we obviously heard it. We sat there, we looked at each other, we mouthed to each other, oh my God, what the earth was that? And I think it sounded like it was maybe, it wasn't like far, far off deep into the woods. It wasn't that far from us. It didn't sound like it was that far from us, but obviously we couldn't see anything. And we just were like, what was that? Don't know. Sat quietly, and after a few seconds, we sort of began to realize that we could hear the odd cricket, bird, leaves in the trees rustling. It got back to normal woodland sounds, and that gave us something to talk about for the next few days, trying to figure out what on earth. But I have no idea, other than it all again has to be connected to the Sasquatch, to the lights I saw, to the everything that's going on there. It This is why I say they're not physical. There's other stuff going on at the same time.
Danielle, isn't it interesting
It was
that
yeah,
after you've seen Sasquatch, physically seen a Sasquatch, and not
yeah,
wanted to talk
yeah,
about it by the time you go to Jack's, but you hear this metal sound and you guys are talking about it for days afterward. That's interesting.
yeah. I don't know what the difference is, but you do, why would you hear a metal sound in the woods? Just why?
Mm-hmm.
It's not possible. There's nothing that would make that sound. And
Well,
the other thing that I figured out is, every time I've seen Sasquatch, I have never been there or been outside, at least at night. So this is daytime stuff in broad daylight. This is not pitch black in the woods hunting sort of stuff. This is daylight. It's Which is not something I hear from other Sasquatch encounters, because it's broad bloody daylight. Because I don't go out at night. I don't go out in the dark. So
well, and like I brought up, Debbie talked about
any
just
ideas
on
welcome.
well, and Debbie talked about the metal sounds that she experienced in the woods, and then Martin Groves in the Land Between the Lakes area
Oh,
in our very latest documentary talked about metal sounds in relation to his Dogman sighting. So, and in no way, shape, or form do I think that
oh
Dogman
my God.
is a flesh and blood creature. So, who knows what's really going on here? But here, yet again, is an example of sounds in the woods that just should not
Yeah.
be. So, what does that mean? And you have this silence that goes
Did
on before the metal sounds.
yeah. Did did they come up with did they have any idea, or are they just
Oh
looking
no,
for
it's just like the rest of us. We're just guessing at things. We don't know. And if anyone says they know, you run. You run, because there are no experts in any of this.
You run really fast.
It's fine to have theories, and that's all
know nothing.
That's all we can do is postulate. But no, nobody knows for sure what's going on. You know, theories such as it's them coming in or out, or does it have to do with these portals, or nobody knows. But it's very interesting, and especially something that loud.
Mm-hmm.
And the way you described it was perfect. And I put myself there, and I thought, oh my God, if I heard that in the woods, I mean, were you guys scared? Was there any fear associated with that, or no?
This is the whole. I don't know if there is a lack of. I think if that sound had carried on, if something else had happened, then yes, we would have been terrified, I think, or we would have ran. And we did sort of immediately. We started to realize, because it was like we're in a little bubble, in a little cocoon, because there was no noise before it, and for a little few seconds afterwards, there's no noise. Had it carried on, we would have just ran, or hobbled really quick, because we're getting older, we can't run. But we would have moved really quickly to get out of there. And we did stand up immediately when we heard the woodland sounds coming back, and we were like, do you know what? We should go back now. We should just go back. And we're like, yeah, let's go back now. Cool. Trundling through the woods back again to the Hobbit house. Yeah. Yeah, it's just I've had enough experiences in my life. And that's the thing, actually. And I'm not going to go into them today because we've been on for ages, but it's like Debbie, it's like every experience I have, whether it's Bigfoot or something else, they're all just so different and crazy. And the Sasquatch don't scare me much as years ago. But do you know what I mean? There's like not one experience that is like another one.
Right.
They're all so different,
Mm-hmm.
but probably really connected. And I look at people that I sometimes look at people that don't have these experiences and don't know what, and just think I must look crazy to them. And in all honesty, I don't really say anything to people that don't know about this stuff or hear about it or have a slight understanding of it. But I just look at other people and think, how are you not having these experiences? Why? Why? Because there's a hell of a lot of people that are.
Well, that's for sure. And trust me, according
So,
to me and most of my listeners, you aren't crazy at all. So don't you worry about that. You fit right in with us. So
yeah.
welcome to the fold. we're all crazy here, I guess. Then and that, we're
Welcome to the
okay with that.
Weirdo Club.
Yeah, that's right.
Cool.
We have the special patches and flags and everything. So that's cool. All right. So next up, we're going to be talking about some peanut butter.
Oh, okay. So, but actually came after the last. Was it that? Did it come after the last time? Right, what date did I see it? Anyway, I'll talk about the peanut butter. Yeah. So I decided that I was going to leave some peanut butter out just to see. Now I can't remember where I heard it or which Sasquatch Chronicles or whatever I'd listened to, that somebody else had left peanut butter out. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And and whoever I'd listened to had described what had happened to the peanut butter and the fact, yeah. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. So I've got a big plastic jar of uh, a certain make of peanut butter, begins with a J, with a big green screw lid on it. And I left it. So, as I said, I walked out of my hobbit house and I go to the right of me, this because that line of trees, that woodland sort of curve sort of around me. and I go off to the right where the big field is towards where we saw where Lisa, where we were stood at the stone and he was in that, those trees there. There's like a tiny little one line of trees, which then leads into another field. And that's where we'd seen him. So I thought, I'm going to leave the peanut butter there. So I go to one of the trees and it's a massive tree, but as the trunk comes up, it sort of splits into three, like three trunks, but it's one tree. So there's a gap in the center, probably about 3.5 feet up. So I can nestle quite safely this jar of peanut butter in there without leaving it on the floor. So I went over there, I put it in there, I sort of talked at the same time. I'm like, I really hope you like peanut butter, and I'm going to leave it right here for you. And if you could just leave me the jar, don't take the jar because I don't want to litter or anything. But there's your peanut butter. I hope you enjoy it. And then I bugger off home. It was it wasn't till it, it was a good few weeks after I'd left the peanut butter before I was able to get back over there. And another thing as well is every time I have been over there, I it's like I have a calling. There's something that just pulls me. If that makes there's just like a yearning, a pull of I can be doing just everyday normal stuff, not even thinking about it, not even planning planning on going there, and then suddenly I have to go. I have to go, even if it's just for an hour. And it's about an hour and a half, an hour and 40-minute drive from me as well. So I'm like, but I have to go. So anyway, I'd left this peanut butter. I left. It was a few weeks later. I get this pull. Okay, off I go. I'll just go check everything's all right. We're starting to come into fall and winter and everything. I'm not going to get there again till next spring probably now. So I go and check whether if this peanut butter is gone. I get to the tree, it's not in the tree. I'm looking round, I can't see it. I look at the bottom of the tree and I see the lid, the green lid that was on the peanut butter. That's lying on the floor on its own at the bottom of the tree. So then I go searching for the actual jar part, and it's probably only about 2 or 3 foot away from the tree, not too far away. And it's lying on the floor, it's on its side, and it looks like it's gone through a dishwasher. It's completely clean. The label had been taken off, so I'm just left with the plastic jar. And it looked like somebody had licked this jar and completely got every single bit of peanut butter there possibly was. It was licked clean, or it was clean. There was no scratch marks on it. There was no teeth marks in it. There was no evidence, or there was no evidence that an animal had unscrewed this jar and eaten the peanut butter. But something had unscrewed this jar and eaten the peanut butter, but it wasn't an animal. There was no scratch mark, teeth mark, nothing. And I've actually got this jar sat in front of me and it's filled with popcorn because when I found it and I was like, oh my God, they had the peanut butter. They ate the peanut butter. This is awesome. I had nothing. I was going to give them another gift. I had nothing. I had half a bag of popcorn in the car. So I refilled the jar with popcorn. And again, I went and put it back in the tree. Said, thank you very much. There's some popcorn, left it there, went back a few days, weeks. to get it back. And this time it hadn't been unscrewed, but the entire top of the lid has been chewed through by squirrels or mice or whatever trying to get at the popcorn. There's scratches all over it, there's bite marks, and I can see the difference. I know damn well. And the popcorn's still in there, which one tells me that animals were trying to get in it, two, that it had not been picked up by them, or they're not there at the moment, and that's why they didn't get it. That's the other thing that crossed my mind was, or they don't like popcorn and just left it. But I feel like they're not even there at the moment. I do feel like they're not there in the winter. I don't know why I feel that, but
I mean, and isn't that interesting that you feel like a being or creature, whatever label you want to put on them, that they would give a crap about the cold because it seems like they would just be able to pop in and out. But then again, if we as people could do that, I mean, why not pop? If you're living like you're in Canada, where I'm sure it gets very cold, why not pop down to Florida? You know, if you
oh yeah,
could, like, why not? Right? I'm sure we would do. We would definitely do that. I know that.
yeah,
So I guess I understand that. That's a very cool story
well,
about the peanut butter, though.
yeah, yeah. It's really cool. As I say, I'm staring at the jar now with the popcorn in it, and it's eaten. There's holes in the top of the lid and everything, which were animals. It was no, no, not even a raccoon. A raccoon would leave scratches in it or bite marks or something. And there isn't actually many raccoons out there because there's no rubbish out there. So there isn't, compared to more urban areas where you'd probably find more of them. I've not seen any out there. I was going to say something then. I can't remember what I was going to say, but yeah, that was, I don't know, it just felt like it was more physical validation that okay, that yeah, there's something going on and it's not normal.
Well,
Not to how we perceive things.
well, last but not least, we have Sasquatch outside the outhouse.
Oh my God. Yeah. So as I said before, you've got the Hobbit house, you come out of the front door of the Hobbit house, and then to the left and behind, not behind, it's not directly behind the Hobbit house, it's like behind but to the left of the front door is this outhouse, and then next to the outhouse is the big woodshed. Again, I had come out to get something out of my car because where I'd parked the car was next to the woodshed. So I'm coming out the front door, I'm walking slightly to the left to go to the car to get something out. As I walked out, I got about 10, 15 feet away from the front door, and I just happened to glance over at the outhouse, and there he was. He, okay. So again, it's the middle of the afternoon. There's a connection there, and I don't know what it is. It's the middle of the afternoon, probably about 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The sun was right above the outhouse. So as I looked to my left and saw him, the sun is right above him. So the sun is like shining in my eyes. So I couldn't. So the first thing that struck me was it was not the same one that I'd seen before with Lisa. This one did seem younger. It just doesn't make it any less small, but it just felt younger, like teenager or early, I don't know, early 20s. It felt younger. Its shoulders were more, I remember his shoulders, he's got no neck whatsoever. His shoulders were more sloped downwards than the other one that I'd seen. I do not remember his head because I didn't look at his head. I'm a short ass. I'm 5'2". I'm not that tall. So I am stood there. I've swung my head round to the left, see him, and I am staring somewhere around his chest area. And I can see that he is completely black. I can see his nipple on his chest because that's the area that I'm staring at. I could not bring myself to like bring my eyes up any further to look in his face. I could see the sort of slope of his shoulders. His arms were hanging down, and that's the other thing, he was silent. There's no whooping or screaming or anything that I've ever heard on other podcasts. He's just stood there silently. That outhouse and there's a step going up to the outhouse, and he's probably another head above it. Oh God, he must be somewhere between 8 and 10 feet tall. Just because I say he's younger doesn't mean he was more athletic. But my God, he was still ridiculously huge. And I, it would make a really good comedy movie actually. If somebody had seen me that day doing that. So I'm looking, honest to God, I don't know what. So I'm looking to the left of me. I am staring at his chest. And it's almost a hypnotic stare. I could hardly drag my eyes away from him, but at the same time, I knew I had to drag my eyes away from him. And as soon as I did drag my eyes away from him, they would just like shoot straight back to him again. And this happened three times. So I'm stood there. I'm not expecting to see a Sasquatch when I walk out the door. I'm going to the car. I'm staring at his chest. And at the same time, I am frozen in place. And I'm stood there, and garbage starts coming out of my mouth, like pure ridiculous. Well, hi there. I didn't expect to see you today. I was just going to my car to get something out of my car, and it's really, really nice to see you. I know that I shouldn't be staring at you. I'm really sorry. I know it's not good, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, and I'm trying to drag my eyes away from you. This is all well, and I am just spouting crap. And then I'm like, well, it's a really nice day, and it was really nice to see you. I think I should go back in the Hobbit house now. And I start backing up by step very slowly, backing up towards the door of the Hobbit house. And as I'm doing that, I had looked away from him as I started backing up. God knows where I was looking either, because I just remember babbling ridiculous, just ridiculous things. I'm backing up towards the Hobbit house, and when I did look again, he was gone. He was gone. And there was one point where when I was actually stuck, because there was a point when I first saw him before I started backing up, where I felt paralyzed, where I did feel like, oh my God, what do I do? There was like a primal, I've never felt it before. It was like a primal fear just for a couple of seconds, like from the pit of my stomach. It sort of started to bubble up, it only lasted a few seconds, thank goodness, but I felt it. And I think it was at that point that I started backing slowly towards the outhouse. Sorry, the Hobbit house. That's why I said it. Yeah, if somebody had seen me, they probably would have laughed their head off because I was just a babbling mess by the time I got back in there. And I paced up and down that Hobbit house floor for a good 20, half an hour, going, I've just seen Sasquatch, I've just seen Sasquatch. And he was 15 feet away from me, maybe 10 feet away from me. It's like every time I've seen him, he's got closer. He's got significantly closer. And yeah, that was the last bit of that. Whew.
So, does that mean that because you kind of said earlier that you may not be going out there as much? Or is there a plan to, once the weather improves again, you'll be going back out there?
I am I am sure that next year, once the weather starts getting better, I will. And I want to, because there's a part right, there's a part of me that goes, oh my God, this is the greatest adventure ever. What on earth is going on? Why is it showing itself to me? What connection is there? What? And there's a small, because as I'm talking about it, I can almost feel that fear from the last time. Didn't last long, but it was there. There's that other part of me that goes, well, okay, he has got closer every time. Is he going to come in for tea next? I mean, is he going to sit next to me around the campfire and have a cup of tea? What what is this leading to? There is that thought. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. If it's just closer and closer, and as you say, yeah, he's a younger Sasquatch, but he's still 8 to 10 feet tall. That's extremely intimidating.
Yeah, especially I yeah, it is intimidating, and I have said in the past that I didn't ever want to see one because I didn't want to be scared, and I did that for a long time, and then I started saying to myself, well, okay, don't scare me, just don't scare me. Do it in a way that doesn't scare me, and yes, they have, but I don't know where I go from here with that. I don't know where. I don't know. I know that I will go out there again, but actually putting all of the experiences together, talking to you, I can feel the the excitement and the fear all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy that I have seen him in the past and then we've walked off and gone la 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 la. And I have I think probably sort of talking about it in like this, I'm putting it all together has made me look at it closer because I think there was a certain part of me going, I'm just not going to, when I'm not there, I'm not really going to think about it. Or I'm not going to, my brain is disengaging from that somehow so that I don't have to look too deeply at it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Just just so you can function normally, just so you can go day to day and function normally. Now, don't get me wrong, I'll sit and listen to Bigfoot podcasts till they come out of my ears, but they do not relate particularly to what I've been through. These are hunters at night and shotguns and getting bluff charged and this, that, and the other, and it's different. It's different.
Oh, yeah, those are the
So
experiences that you never want to have, of course. But then again, to be close to something that's that large, even though you might feel that they are benevolent, that would, as I said before, it would be scary no matter what, just because of the sheer size. And as you mentioned the word primal earlier, that would be your
yeah,
primal side and your protective side of your fragile body. We're all very fragile. Going, this could not be
yeah.
maybe a good thing to be close to. I mean, I totally get that. So, yeah. Well,
Might
Daniela,
not work out well.
yeah,
Yeah,
no, because I mean, what if, the whole what if comes in, right? Like, what if? What if it snaps? What if it gets mad? What if I read
yeah,
this whole thing wrong and it
yeah,
snatches me and drags me off into the woods? That would be the worst case scenario, I would have
yeah,
to say. First of all, I want to thank you for sharing what you did today. And second of all, if you ever wanted to come back on, if you go, you continue to go back out to Jack's property, I would love to keep in touch with you and to know what's going on with you and what's going on out there at Jack's. And it just, no pressure, of
yeah,
course, but I'm sure that updates would be wonderful to learn of.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. That would be cool. Thank you. Thank you for letting me share as well.
Absolutely.
I hope
No,
this
thank,
helps somebody. I don't
well,
know.
and I think that it does, and I've said it many times, and I'll say it again. Sometimes it's not just, oh, she's had Bigfoot experiences. It's, oh, here's this one little tiny specific thing that she mentioned, and that's what will get somebody reaching out. I really do
Yeah,
think that's what it is.
yeah,
And it takes
yeah,
folks like you that are willing to come out and share.